2.5 months after Tears of the Kingdom released, we are finally coming together to discuss the game. This episode will contain spoilers for everything in the game, including endgame content. Welcome to the Switch Clicks Podcast, episode 147. My name is Dakota, and today I'm joined by Nathan.
Hello!
Before we get into it, we'd like to shout out the mods at Zelda Creators for inviting us on their Zelda Creators Modcast to discuss Tears of the Kingdom with them. So if you're looking for even more discussion about the game, check out their episode linked in the description. That episode does not contain heavy spoilers. So of course, it's been a few months since the game came out, and it took me a little bit longer to beat the game, considering I have a life now. And there are a couple things that we did miss during the Zelda Modcast episode, and the hot takes that come with it, potentially.
Oh dear, that we're going to be digging ourselves a bunch of holes with this episode.
So we have a list of things that we'd like to cover here, and the first thing would be the new abilities. I think they're good.
yeah, they're pretty suitable replacements for the runes.
Yeah, I think the game was it was kind of built around the building mechanic.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel as cohesive, and a lot of the puzzles were very, very simple.
I think part of the reason was because all of these abilities kind of interacted with like almost everything in the world, whereas the Sheikah runes were kind of more catered towards specific types of objects around the world.
Yeah, and they could build it a little bit more. The funnel was a lot smaller, you could say.
Yeah, there was just so much more freedom that you had to just solving puzzles to, building stuff. Whereas with the Sheikah Slate, you kind of had to figure out which rune you had to use to, get past a certain point.
Yeah, and oftentimes you had to use a combination. Like, there's a metal chest in a lake, so you have to use the ice one and then use the metal one to get it out. So,
yeah, that's actually a good point. I didn't really realize. I didn't really find myself combining much of the abilities in Tears of the Kingdom as much as I did in Breath of the Wild. It was kind of mostly like Ultra Hand solves like one single puzzle. Maybe you do like recall and rewind. I forget what it was called, to bring it up to the sky or something. There was really no like instance where you really needed to use multiple effects at once. It was just kind of a singular puzzle.
Yeah, the only thing that I can think of is like if I'm using the Ultra Hand to put in a glider, and then the glider falls off, and I forgot something, so I need to do the reverse and go back.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Literally, like that's the only combo I can think of, and I usually only use that to cheese some puzzles. Like it makes puzzles go by faster, of course. It's just it doesn't feel really natural. It doesn't feel as natural as the Breath of the Wild combos.
Yeah, I think the Ascend ability is probably the most useful. Just because for some reason I did try to play Breath of the Wild again, and I'm like, oh, there's a ledge there. Let me just use Ascend. Oh wait. So I think that was like it was probably the most useful, I think.
I actually think recall or rewind is the most useful out of all of them, just because of how much range there is. Like you have infinite range with that thing. You can get like a plane that's flew off like a couple hundred miles away and call it back to your own spot. I think Ascend is very, very dependent on where you're using it, whereas recall kind of just it kind of works in almost any given situation.
That's true, yeah. I guess how many instances are you throwing something off and you need to get it back?
I usually use recall to like screw over with puzzles and navigate up like higher platforms or something like that. I actually use it a lot to get those Korok puzzles. The ones where you have to carry the Koroks up like a huge mountain or something to get them to their friend. Yeah, I usually use that a lot more often than I would to use Ascend for climbing purposes. Because Ascend is kind of substituted by other stuff in the game. Like you could either get level to non-slip climbing gear, or you can get like a simple campfire with a pine cone and cause like a massive updraft, that type of stuff. So I don't find as much use with Ascend as I would with something like Recall.
I just remembered that I usually use the time ability for if I overshoot a Korok with a rocket, then I
Oh,
just
that's sad.
activate the ability,
Yeah.
and then he kind of like flies over his friend, and I stop the ability once he's over his friend, and he just drops.
Yeah, that's where I like it the most. It's either that or those puzzles that are actually meant for recall. You kind of have like that momentum type of thing going on, and then it just goes crazy when you release it at a certain time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I forgot about that. That they have that
Yeah,
feature.
there's like a couple shrines that had those where you had to basically time it so that it bounces off the ground really high up, and
Hmm.
those were really fun puzzles. But it's
Yeah,
too bad. It's too bad that you won't really find a use for that anywhere else.
yeah. They do not play with that at all in the overworld.
Yeah.
Speaking of the overworld, exploration versus Breath of the
Ooh.
Wild.
Now, before we were recording, Dakota, you mentioned that we kind of have different perspectives on this, and I kind of wanted to hear what you thought about this, what your
Yeah, and
experience was.
the different perspectives saying like, okay, I didn't memorize every single little rock in each place. I kind of just knew the main locations: Kakariko Village, each of the four corners of Hyrule, Hyrule
Yeah.
Castle, Hyrule Field, and that's about it. Um, Now, every once in a while, I came to an area. I'm like, "Hey, I remember this area. I jumped off that cliff, or I wanted to get to the top of that pole that didn't have anything, so I went to the top of that pole in this game, and half the time it had something." So, I think the exploration is equally as good. It was just a little bit monotonous, only because there wasn't as many changes. And I'm at this point, after exploring Hyrule twice, and both times being in complete disarray, I'd like to see a complete Hyrule with people walking around and it thriving.
You know they're probably never gonna do that.
I know, and it sucks.
You might have to use some mods to get that, unfortunately, but I've heard some mods kind of didn't work properly for that either. So it
Hmm.
kind of scares me. Um for me, because I was one of those people who kind of explored, like who got 100% in Breath of the Wild with all 900 Koroks, I kind of remember almost every single land formation. I'd say. Um, it was also interesting. Another interesting to note was that I know there are certain things in Age of Calamity that were actually from Breath of the Wild. Surprisingly, like some land formations turn into roads in Age of Calamity, so I kind of recognized that as well. Uh, and a lot of those village ruins, and the mountain peaks, certain like I think the old Breath of the Wild locations for the shrines, I remember all of those pretty well. Uh, and when I saw the differences, I was like, "This world is." They probably could have done. They probably could have done more to it to change it. It looks like Breath of the Wild, but you can tell that it was meant to be. It was designed with Breath of the Wild in mind. Like you can tell if you were to go to like a Breath of the Wild shrine location, all you see is like maybe a tiny crater in the ground, or maybe a cave in there in place of it. It didn't feel as natural per se.
Yeah, and I think the caves were probably the best addition. They went
Yeah,
in depth, and oftentimes they
depth
connected with in depth. Haha.
in depth. Haha.
Oftentimes they connected with each other, and having the little check mark that you got everything in there, that's super helpful.
Yeah, I actually found that super duper useful. You don't want to be running around the same caves over and over again to get all those frogs, bullfrogs, whatever they're
Yeah,
called,
glowy frogs essentially.
glowy frogs. Yeah, that check mark is really useful. That was nice. I also enjoyed the caves. Splunking them was pretty nice. Although I think partway through the game, I kind of got a little bit unsettled by certain caves just because of how eerie the music gets. It's kind of like disturbing. You sometimes hear monsters around the corner, or you probably stumble inside a dark cave and you can't see anything. It gets a little scary because you never know.
Kinda.
You never
Unfortunately,
know.
the scope of enemies is quite limited. There's like two new
Uh,
ones in the caves, right?
yeah, two enemies in the caves, and then the occasional boss fight, which
Yeah,
isn't actually that crazy, except
because
for
they
one of
didn't
the
do anything new
locations.
with them. They just had either the big one with one eye or the giant rock, and that's kind of it.
Or one of them had Phantom Ganon.
Oh yes, the one at the pit. Yes,
Yeah, that one was scary. That one was a little scary. That
that was
one,
cool.
I got that one early playthrough, and that really creeped me out. But hey, I think that was the first place I actually killed him too.
I believe, yeah, I did it at the bottom of the pit as well, and that was also the first spot I got the hand, the gloom hand, the guys.
Yeah,
At the time,
those are
I kind of
scary.
figured out how to defeat them because they're like they'd show up in like groups of 5, so I
Hmm.
just jump or dodge and use arrows with bombs and just
Yeah,
destroy a bunch of them with the
yeah.
Lionel like 3 times arrow thing, and you can just
Oh
whittle them
yeah, those
down.
are yeah. My first Gloom Hands was at Hyrule Castle, actually. I heard like people talking about, oh my gosh, there's so much good loot there. So I decided to go there early game. I go into the ruins. I go to, I think, the docks. It was, and I run up those big stairs, and boom! They suddenly just came screaming and running after me. I got so scared. I jumped into the water. Well, I got caught in their hands. I nearly died. I jumped into the water, and I think I was like maybe a quarter stamina wheel left before I was safe to get out of the water. It was it was such a heart pounding experience, but thinking back to it, they're not that scary. They're
They're not
just
bad.
they're not bad. They're not like Guardian level scary.
The other kind of scary ones I wanted to mention was in the desert. They have the main point of the plot in that area was like the I don't remember what they're called. You probably
Gipto.
know. Gibdo, yes.
Yeah.
Are they the same things from what Ocarina of Time?
Yes. Well, at least the mummified ones from Ocarina of Time.
Because the mummified ones were like infinitely scarier.
Yeah.
Because like it forces your character to look at them, and then I don't think you can move for a few seconds, and you kind of have to like
Yeah.
wiggle the joystick for a bit,
Yeah, you have to like
and then once it
spam
grabs you, it like
A and
snaps your
move.
neck.
Yeah, they steal a lot of health back in the day.
Yeah,
Nowadays they're
and
kind of really easy, I'd say.
it's like I like that they have a different way of defeating them. That you can't just like spam your sword and then they're
Yeah.
dead. You have
Yeah.
to either hit them with lightning or some kind of explosion or something big.
Or just fire.
Yeah, exactly.
That
I
will
didn't know they were like bugs,
I didn't
right?
actually yeah, I actually didn't know that they had the flying ones either.
Yeah, I think that had to be new to this game, but I didn't know like their origin was a bug.
Yeah, I
Mod.
originally thought they were like just mummies or, zombies or something like that, redeads.
Yeah,
But
I think the idea is that it's like a swarm in the desert.
yeah,
You know?
they're much less humanoid in this one than they were before.
Yeah,
That fire technique to fight them though, that is definitely a bit of a nostalgia trip there. Because I know
yeah.
certain games you just need to shoot fire and then it like makes them incredibly weak and you kill them.
And I'm
That
sure
was a
everybody
nice.
went. I'm sure everybody went through this where they're like, "Oh, they drop bones that do 40 damage or add 40 damage."
Oh
I'm like,
dear.
"Sick!" And then it breaks in 1 second.
Yeah, it's one of those disposable things. It's like, oh crap. Now I have no excuse but to actually fight the Lionels.
Yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter that was like, "Ganon has no chance," and they had like 200 of the
I
bones and
saw.
300 arrows.
Another enemy I found pretty interesting. Another new enemy in the game was the frogs. Those like giant frog monsters in the depths.
Oh yeah,
Those guys were scary the very first time I fought them, and then every other time afterwards it was kind of really easy.
Yeah, I think that's one of the harder ones in the game.
It is,
They
yeah.
jump at you so fast that I couldn't
Yep.
even do anything.
Yeah, you like actually need to start moving a lot in that one compared to the traditional ones in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
Uh,
luckily they were one-hit kills, so they were much to take care of.
yeah. The giant frogs though. Giant froxes, those ones are crazy.
Yeah, it's
Those ones
basically
gobble
the
you up.
giant. It's basically the giant rocks, but on crack.
Yeah, Talus is on crack with a Hinox Eye weak spot, plus ores that you can destroy. I think those ones are pretty good for grinding if you really hated the whole process of grinding Zonite stuff.
Hmm.
I got really scared the first time I fought them because it swallowed me up. I'm like, what the heck do I do here? But after that, they just became so incredibly easy. Especially when they launch you up into the air, it doesn't like hurt you or anything. It just gives you time to pull out your bow and shoot them.
Hmm. And I guess
Um,
while we're on the
yeah,
topic of enemies, we might as well go to the bosses of the game. Um, Both the four bosses in each corner. Sometimes they have two of them, and also the final boss if we'd like to. Actually,
yeah.
we'll do the final boss later.
Oh dear, the bosses. Which one did you fight first?
What order did I go in? Oh, I went in order water, wind, uh, fire, and lightning.
Yeah, so I basically just did almost the same order, except I did wind first instead of water.
Hmm.
The wind one. I think of the four that you get to fight there, I think the wind one was by far my favorite.
Yeah, I second that.
Combined with the awesome music and dramatic flight, it is a good concept. But unfortunately, the boss is so incredibly easy.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you could dive into them, so I was constantly diving underneath them and then just blowing from underneath, which
Oh,
which is an option, but
diving into them is is what makes it fun.
yeah, exactly.
That's pretty much what I did on my first playthrough. I'm like, what the heck? Is this actually how you do it? And I just proceeded to do that the entire time, and that was a blast. That was a blast. Every
Yeah,
time I fight this boss again, it's always really fun.
it had the best music in the game, but
Yeah,
it only lasted like 30 seconds.
yeah. Even the rematches were kind of really short too.
Yeah, I haven't even done the rematches yet. Oh, I gotta do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're worth it. They're worth your time. It's pretty nice. Um, I think my least favorite is the water boss.
I agree. I agree.
I
Muck,
don't. I
Muktorok.
Muck truck. I don't hate it the first time because at least you get low gravity there. Low
Yeah.
gravity is so broken in the game. Like you can just whip out your bow and easily cheese the boss. But the rematches are completely like they are so annoying. Because you can't just take out your bow or else the guy would hit you, and you got a lot of mud and or I think it's sludge, and you have to like frantically shoot all your water, like shoot all the sludge with like water, like splash roots or water choo-choos or whatever. And this guy moves really fast. He is
Mhm.
super duper annoying. Even when you stun him, he still gets up and like flops around, and you have to stun him again, and it's just way too tedious.
Yeah, I think it. I compare this. It was built like a Mario boss, but you don't have the movement of Mario. And I honestly think what would have fixed it is Sidon's ability if it went through all of the mud in a line instead of just
Yeah,
stopping at like the first bunch.
yeah, that would have helped so much more, especially with how much sludge it just brought out.
It also felt like what is it, Shivers boss battle in Splatoon?
Yeah, yeah. Well, what the
Like
heck?
almost 1-to-1.
Yeah, very tedious for no reason, but you know, it is what it is. Um, what you think of the Fire Temple boss?
I thought it was a really really cool idea. And Goma, that's the boss in Ocarina, right?
Yeah, this is like basically a rock version of Goma.
Yeah, I like the idea of using Yonobu. What's his name?
Yunobo.
Yonobo
Pretty close.
to like bowling up the ramps on the side.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, because it's so fast, you can just spam it like 4 times in a row, and you don't get hit at all during the entire battle.
Yeah. None of its attacks are actually that dangerous either. You could just use like recall and send it back to him, and it actually gets hurt a bit. It was so easy. It was
a good idea. They just kind of needed, maybe they needed some like platforming or something, or maybe like if there was a weak spot on the bottom of him, and if you ascended through him while he was on the roof, then you can hit it. That would be kind of cool.
Oh wow! I think you just made me realize something. I don't think any of the boss fights in this game actually have platforming involved.
No, they don't.
Yeah, because Breath of the Wild had Water Blight Ganon with the water levels rising.
Oh yeah, and I guess the electricity one or the lightning one had don't fall off the platform.
Don't fall off. Yeah, don't fall off the platforms,
or else you're gonna be stuck on the bottom of the camel for the entire battle.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know about this one. If you fought the rematch of this Goma, I forget what the name was, but Goma, it doesn't even have the ceiling anymore. It's just a plain circular arena that you fight it in, and it doesn't go on the ceiling. You just keep battering with Yunobo, and it's 10 times easier than it originally was.
What the heck? That sucks.
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing. I gotta say, like, for a boss rematch, it's probably one of the worst out of the 4. Worst in terms of difficulty, but you know,
I think the battle before you get to the fire temple, like the giant monsters coming out of the volcano, it was so much more hype.
Yeah,
like,
that was
didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, it was just that one monster battle, and then you go in and it's super chill.
Yeah.
Now the desert temple.
We hit all of them. Oh yeah, the Gibdo.
What do you think of that?
I loved the design of it. It was sick.
Yeah.
And then having to like half defeat it before you get in there was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But then the boss battle itself was just like, okay, run away from all the slow enemies while you wait until you get that ability, the lightning ability back.
Yeah.
And then you just lightning them. It's just a lot of running. There's not much to it.
I mean, once you have your Nobo, it just everything's really easy. You just get like fire weapons and you get fire arrows, or maybe just bombs. Get Yunobo, get Riju. It's almost like a complete. It's almost like a hack and slash at that point. You're just kind of repeatedly attacking those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to say though. It's another one of those easy boss battles that there's like only one difficult move that you can't really dodge easily. But like everything else, it's just more of a grind rather than difficulty.
Yeah, I do think the puzzles in the lightning temple were very good. I like those ones.
Oh yeah, those were amazing. Those reminded me of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of even in the fire temple, I was kind of hoping they would have like chanting like they did in the original Ocarina of Time. But they got close. They had like the ominous
It was close. It was pretty close. But of course,
Nintendo would never do that.
Nope. I'm still thankful that you bought me that copy of Ocarina of Time from Japan. This is version 1.1
with that.
yeah, it has the chance.
Oh my. The other boss battle that is technically a boss battle is, I believe, the Master Koga ones.
Oh dear.
I think I have beaten the initial one and the second one. It's just I'm sure there's more, right?
Oh yeah, I've beaten all of them. If you don't care about spoilers, I could talk about them.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm assuming that he just has a different vehicle that he made.
Everything but the last one. But the last one, you'll be surprised how stupidly easy that is. I'll talk about it later though, because it does relate to something that we can touch on. It does relate to something like later in the main quest, so we can look at that soon. Oh, and in terms of other boss battles, I guess we still haven't talked about the Gleeoks on the overworld, the three-headed dragons.
Oh yeah, I actually have not attempted any of them. Those
You
look
have
insanely
not?
hard. I've
Have
beaten the
you?
game. I just don't think I have enough things to defeat it. One arrow
Okay,
does like barely any damage.
I'm gonna have to force you to go against one of those at least. Not the one,
Yeah.
not the one on the Bridge of Hylia. That one is terrible. Um, Probably the best one to go after is the one on the very west side of like where the Thundra Plateau is on that west, like the mushroom area on the west
Oh
side of
yeah.
Hyrule. Yeah, so close to there, you cross the bridge, you turn left up that mountain, and it should be where one of those Breath of the Wild memories were. That's where a Gleeok can be found, and
I'm
that
pretty
one's one of
sure
the.
I've seen all three of them, and each time I'm like, nope, and just fly away.
I I highly recommend you fight it. Oh wait, there's an easier one. Just go to the Coliseum.
Oh yeah. I guess I saw the Coliseum. I'm like, okay, knowing Nintendo, this has a harder boss battle. I guess I was right.
So, Gleeoks originally were very hard. Like, early game, they instantly kill you. They're one of the highest damaging enemies, I think, with their laser attacks. Later into the game, they surprisingly get really easy. If you get enough bows and arrows.
Yeah, if you get enough arrows.
if you kill enough keys or Arakudas or anything with eyeballs, eyeballs are your best friends against this boss. You literally just spam eyeball attacks, and you pretty much automatically win.
Oh yeah, does it react to elemental? So if you have the fire one, the ice
Uh,
one does more, or
it
vice
doesn't
versa?
do. I don't think it does more damage, but the elemental ones do explode. So at least you get that area of effect type of damage, the
Mm,
splash damage. It helps a lot. So I recommend you use those. But the bosses get so incredibly easy. Like those bosses get incredibly easy once you know their pattern.
yeah, I assume all three of them are basically the same with just slightly different abilities. Elemental
Oh,
specifically.
um, I hate to tell you that. I hate to break it to you, but there is actually a fourth version out there.
Oh no.
You'll
Well,
find this. You'll find this in very difficult to reach locations.
hmm. Well, I'll have to get into that then.
I won't tell you where. I won't tell you where, but some of them are pretty easy to find. It's just hard to get to.
Hmm.
I
Well,
guess
we did boss battles. We did
yes,
the
we did
enemies.
boss battles. We did enemies.
Now I'd like to talk about the music.
Yeah, yeah. We could
Because
talk
we
about
mentioned
this.
earlier that, or I mentioned earlier that the I
Colgera.
forgot his name. Yep, Colgera.
Colgera.
The Colgera boss battle theme, best theme in the game, without
Yes,
a doubt.
best theme in the game.
There's
It
like no
it
competition.
it sounds like the love letter to Wind Waker.
Yeah.
Such a dramatic dragon roost theme. Uh,
Hmm.
mixed in with like Breath of the Wild Rito Village.
The other parts that I loved was when anytime they mentioned Link or like a hero in the future, usually in
Yeah.
those memories,
Yeah.
they would play either the main Zelda theme or they'd
Yeah.
play a little bit of the Breath of the Wild theme or try to mix it in.
Yeah, those were nice.
Um,
Those were nice little bits there.
yeah, same with when like Zelda does something cool, they play um her theme, and then at the very end they play Zelda's lullaby when she's waking up. It's like, of course.
Of
If they
course,
didn't,
there's
the fan base would be mad.
yeah, the fan base would be mad. They would instantly say, well, they technically already say that this is not a Zelda game, but they'd even say there's more fans that would say it that it won't be a Zelda game without the Zelda theme.
Listen, it has Zelda on the cartridge, so I don't know what to tell you.
um, I know though that they did kind of recycle a lot of the themes from Breath of the Wild, like all of
Yeah,
the
most of the
locations.
overworld stuff, right?
Yeah, pretty much. They did get new variations for all like the four settlements. Like you
Yeah.
get the like eerie versions of Rito Village and Gerudo Town has some really really disturbing music disturbing and suspenseful music. Goron City sounds really goofy.
Mm-hmm. I probably because they're technically on drugs.
Yeah, they are on drugs.
I don't
That
think I
was
heard the Rito one. Oh no, the Rito one, yeah, because it was all covered in snow and it was all depressing. Yeah.
yeah. And then there was also what other interesting parts? Um, I guess I could say they kind of improved the overworld themes. I'm not sure if that's debatable or not. Like it's not like you have to wait like every 5 minutes for a theme. It kind of plays like every 30 seconds.
I mean, I think it was very similar. I
It's very similar.
Yeah, they had the same vibe and everything. I loved when you either there was a Zonai memory or something, and they did
Yeah.
the backwards sounding stuff.
Oh, yeah. Those
That
were
was sick.
nice.
Unfortunately, I think they only had like 2 clips, and they kept using it.
Yeah. They reuse the same song over and over again for every tier.
Which is just Nintendo.
Very
Like,
Nintendo.
how many times are they going to use the Kakariko Village theme or any of the forests?
Yeah. It's actually a bit surprising though, because I mean, if you think back to something like Super Mario Galaxy 2, they did get all the songs back, but they recomposed all of them. They reorchestrated all of them to kind of fit the more orchestral, less cosmic type of theme. I was kind of expecting a little more evolution in this game, per se.
Yeah, just a tiny bit more eeriness. Or
Yeah.
something maybe a little bit more whimsical when you're up in the air. Or like
Yeah.
more drums when you're in the depths or something. Just
Yeah.
even alternatives would have been better.
Mm-hmm. In terms of cutscene music, was there anything really memorable besides the Breath of the Wild moment or the Zelda moment?
I don't know what this Breath of the Wild moment would be to you, but specifically, when they show, what's his name, Rauru? Yes, Rauru.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
Rauru is like he grabs Ganondorf and sacrifices himself and like
Yeah.
promises him that Link will come to defeat him, and
Yeah.
they perfectly put in the main Zelda theme, and it was crazy good.
That
so
okay. I that yeah, okay. I think that was I actually forgot about that one. But yeah, that one was crazy and dramatic and epic. I don't think now that you mentioned it, I did kind of underestimate what they were going to do with the cutscenes there, the cutscene music.
Yeah, it was the coolest part, mainly because they kind of hyped up that scene over the 4 different
Oh my gosh.
sages there, because they told the same story 4 times in a row and gave us absolutely nothing. And
Reuses
then
the
they
same
finally
shot of
show it,
Rauru.
and it was worth it.
It was actually worth it, yeah. All that hype with that single frame of Rauru standing there injured, all for this epic fight scene to end.
Yeah, and at the same time, it explains why his arm is on Ganondorf's chest, why he's underneath the castle, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of brings everything together, as well as having just the main theme there is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I guess overall I should say this one thing. They actually brought all the trailer music into this game for once.
Yeah.
even that epic third trailer with the saxophone, they brought bits of that into the game.
Wait, really? I was looking for that the entire game. Where'd they put that in?
So you know the very start of it where there's like that saxophone solo?
Okay.
That actually happens around with something we'll talk about later really soon. With the 5th stage. There's bits of that you'll hear. Yeah, you'll have to listen to it. You have to watch those cutscenes again, but they play bits of that trailer music when you go meet the 5th stage.
What do you think about the voice acting in these cutscenes? I know that I think on Twitter you've been talking a decent amount about it.
Yeah, so I'm not impressed. I'm actually, well, that's an understatement. I'm actually disappointed. I was expecting a larger voice cast in this, to be honest with you. It's
Yeah,
just,
I can see that.
I mean, coming off of Age of Calamity, you'd expect that to be like their testing game. Like you'd expect that to be their game to test out and audition for, more newer voice actors to join the cast. But none of those new cast members kind of returned except for Christina V, and it was kind of disappointing. I was hoping for someone like Paya to be voiced by Andy Gibson because Andy Gibson did Impa, both versions of Impa, and that was pretty cool. Master Koga's voice in Age of Calamity was also really funny to hear. I was kind of wishing that he returned, but unfortunately, it was just the standard grunting voice clips for
Yeah,
many of the characters.
you could boil down this entire game to grunting voice clip, and it's
Yeah,
it's horrible.
it's yeah, you know what's especially just that annoys me the most when you have cutscenes where only one of the character talks and the rest of them do grunting noises.
Yeah. It annoys me specifically when, like, oh, you walk up to a character that is obviously like a character we've already met. They
Yeah,
load into a cutscene where they turn around or something, and
yeah.
it's pre-rendered and everything. They do like one or two sentences, and then fade to black, loading screen. Now it's all text and grunting. What happened?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't even think Sean Chiplock got a chance to voice Taba in this game at all.
No, it was all grunting.
It was all just grunting. It wasn't even like a single word uttered.
Yeah, I think it was nice that they brought back the champion voice actors for the sages.
Yeah.
But again, they all say the same thing, and they literally said the same script. So, is it that special? Not really.
Not really, yeah. It's from very start to finish of the dungeons. Yeah, they all say the same thing. It's kind of just like, oh, okay, they're back, but can I get more, please?
Yeah.
It's a little jarring too, especially when you look back at Age of Calamity. Literally, like every single NPC in that game had voice dialogue. Every single NPC, every single action, every single character to character interaction, literally every single bit of that game had voice acting. And it kind of disappoints me that they didn't really do much in this one.
And also the fact that the cutscenes aren't like all the memories aren't as big in scope.
Yeah.
I feel like in Breath of the Wild, each memory or each I think they're memories as well.
Yeah.
Uh, they took place in different spots. They weren't really together. You could watch them however you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't really have to chop anything together. One was in Hyrule Castle, where Zelda is talking to her father. Another is with just Link and Zelda in a field, where Link is just swiping a sword around and Zelda's thinking.
Yeah.
Another is where they're running away from some enemies. And you can kind of see some heroic abilities from Link. And I feel like every memory in Tears of the Kingdom was just, okay, Sonia, Rauru, and Zelda, let's talk about a plot point. Ooh. And? Nothing.
Oh. Yeah.
So, every time I watch a memory in this game, they finish it up, and I'm like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? Like, Ganon goes to visit Rauru. Rauru says, I will keep watch on him.
Next
And then
memory.
the next memory, he's attacking them. What happened?
Warlock punches Sonya instantly.
Yeah, exactly. I saw the Warlock punch. That was my second memory, so that was a whiplash.
Oh my gosh. The game did technically give the order, but I kind of wish they didn't make it as subtle as it was.
They did make it very subtle. I did kind of like that the ground pattern had to do with one thing in that memory. That was kind of nice.
Yeah, it's just kind of unfortunate.
Maybe if they did it in a way where if you unlock like the sword one and the Zelda one, then you unlock the Sonya getting punched. So you get to watch a third bonus one. Or
that would have been nice.
Tea time with Zelda and Sonya and another conversation with Rauru that doesn't really make any sense. Then you unlock, I don't know, the Ganon one where you meet Ganon and he goes to Rauru in the in the castle. Like, just mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
I know you have to make more and you have to spend more money, but I'd rather have more character interactions.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing too with the way that the cutscenes were laid out. It's like you said, like Breath of the Wild was more fragmented, but I think that actually worked in its favor with the way, with how random like everything is, like how randomly you would get the cutscenes. That was really not worth the whiplash when you think about it.
Yeah, because you got to kind of learn what the character of Zelda is like, what the quote unquote character of Link is. The fragments that we got, and then also characters that were technically already dead.
Yeah.
So, and of course the champions, the best part of that game. So,
it's crazy to think like one of the very first memories that everyone gets in Breath of the Wild is probably the one where Calamity Ganon just arrives in Hyrule. And that's one of the last ones out there, but it's crazy to think that it fits so well into the storytelling. Like you could be walking blindly into this game, and it just adds more questions rather than answers. Whereas if you're to do that out of order in Tears of the Kingdom, it's kind of like, okay, I know what this leads into. I don't really need to know anything else.
You just got me thinking that okay, they completely dropped the ball with the stages with those cutscenes. Because I just remember that with the champions, they all have an individual cutscene with Link, and to show the relationship with Link, they had Rivali had his where he's just super cocky, and then it's a good character, but nobody likes him.
The rival to the worthy rival to Link.
Exactly, and then the Gerudo one, forget his name, unfortunately.
Gerudo or Goron?
Goron. He becomes like a best friend with Link. He's just one of the boys.
Yes.
Mifa's cutscene is a little bit flirty.
Link's girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. You still get like, kind of a character connection. And then with the Gerudo, that one was
Urbosa?
where Zelda falls asleep in Urbosa's lap, and she wakes her up with the lightning. And Link comes around the corner and was like, oh, do I have to protect her? But no, she's fine.
And it turns out Urbosa's that motherly figure, or
exactly.
Aunt.
Oh my goodness.
Zelda's aunt. Whereas Tears of the Kingdom didn't have... Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom had like almost none of that except for Sonia and Zelda. That was it. Like,
unless they're purposely saving a lot of that character interaction for DLC, which would be unfortunate.
I hope they actually knock it out of the park with the DLC if they were to do that.
Yeah, exactly. We won't talk about DLC today. We did mention it a few times on the modcast, but that will be a future topic.
Speaking of the stages, there is one stage that we forgot to cover, or at least we were purposely trying to hide.
Even I forgot.
So, if you're one of those who plays in chronological order, you wouldn't find this anytime soon. It happens after you find all the 4 other stages. Boom, you go through this massive, like, climactic battle on Hyrule Castle. You fight Phantom Ganon. Like, you find out that this Zelda was a fake Zelda, and you fight Phantom Ganon. That was pretty cool, by the way. And then suddenly you think that you're at the end game, but then the game kind of surprises you with a 5th stage, like a 5th dungeon, and a 5th boss battle fight. What did you think of that, Dakota?
Again, I think we mentioned this during the modcast. Meh.
Meh.
I think I kind of saw it from a mile away, honestly.
Yeah.
I wasn't like too spoiled online, and I knew there had to be something more. They weren't just gonna play go to each corner of Hyrule and then boss battle. I knew they had to do something new.
See, I also thought that they were gonna bring something new, but I think I also said this in the modcast. But I had an unfortunate accidental discovery of this 5th stage, and it became my 2nd dungeon. So I finished the Wind, and then I decided to go shrine hunting, and then I accidentally run across the storm in the sky. So I decided, oh, maybe there's like a shrine or 2 in there. I go in, I eventually hit this massive building. I'm like, what the heck is this place? I do all that stuff, and then I unlock a mysterious main quest I've never heard of before. I'm like, this is another dungeon? Did I accidentally run into another dungeon? And at that point, I was just like, I completely skipped like a whole part of the quest that I didn't really need to, you know, I never knew about until after beating the game. It was such a weird surprise, and unlocking the sage wasn't even that worth it either because it just gave you a mech.
It was just Titanfall.
It was just Titanfall. It was just Titanfall. Yeah, it gave you a mech that wasn't incredibly that useful. It was just kind of there.
Yeah, if it could be like an upgradable thing for DLC where it has like legs, or maybe you can attach a bicycle to it or something. But
Yeah.
it's slow on its own, and it's still pretty slow with the fan, and it's limited time, so it's worthless at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah, after that temple, I have never used it.
I only kept it out as a CPU to help me fight. Other than that, I also never used it. I mean, I sometimes use it for mining, but that's pretty much it.
I will say the boss battle, like the boxing ring thing, that was actually kind of hard.
That was hard, yes. I think I died the most of that boss.
I'm not sure why.
I died the most of that boss, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think I died in any of the bosses other than that one. I think I died like 4 times.
Ironically enough, that also felt like a very, very much of a Mario boss fight when you think about it.
Yeah, kind of evening the playing field almost.
Yep. Knocking him into the electric fence is kind of a Mario thing to do.
Yeah, that's literally Mario Odyssey with Bowser.
Yeah, Bowser, Mario Odyssey, Super Mario 64 with the spike balls, Super Mario Galaxy with that spinning disc thing that you have to ground pound.
Yeah, it's made by the same creator.
I mean, Miyamoto did work on the game, so there's that.
Yeah.
And I was about to talk about the special Koga thing. Mild spoilers, but Koga's final boss machine is actually just a spoof of this boss fight, but a lot weaker. Much weaker.
I feel like that kind of be cool.
I literally beat Koga maybe within less than 5 minutes because of just how much weaker it was compared to this boss fight. Mm-hmm. But it's literally the same thing.
Dang. I think also Minoru being the 5th sage. Why?
Yeah, I also have to ask why.
She was in one cutscene. If you can count the extra 4 in the Sage's cutscenes if you want.
Yeah, that's true.
But she also had I guess she was technically the Pyra. Wait, no, what's her name?
Pora?
Pora. I have Pyra and Mythra in my head.
Pyra Mythra.
Yeah, she's kind of like the Pora of that era. I would prefer if maybe Pora was the 5th one, because I would sick.
Yeah, Pora as a 5th sage would have been cool. Maybe even Hestu. Let's be honest. That would have been a twist. That would have been the best twist ever. And come on, we've seen Hestu fight before. It's not impossible.
Yeah, I feel like there would be a secret stone in the Great Deku Tree or something. Maybe he can be the secret 6.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to go kill the Deku Tree first, like you did in Ocarina of Time. Is that that section? Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, I mean, besides saying the temple is really tedious, I don't think there's much else to say.
It's not much of a temple. It's a bunch of flagpoles.
Yeah, it's a bunch of flagpoles. Just it's a stupid build quest that takes hours to finish.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to go through that again. Now, okay, later in this game, the whole reason why this game was really dragon themed to begin with the what was it called, the Ouroboros on the title. I think that was what it was.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, so we found out that there's this new dragon called the Light Dragon, and oh my gosh, guess who it is? It's Zelda. I accidentally discovered this earlier on before I completed all my memories.
Yeah, I got kind of spoiled on Twitter when people are like, uh, first of all, fan art. Shout
Yep.
out to all artists everywhere. You did amazing work. But when Link is physically hugging and sometimes kissing a giant dragon, I'm like, okay, I wonder why.
I found out through some
You can kind
stupid
of put the
YouTube
puzzle
comment.
pieces together.
Yeah, exactly. But also, it was kind of predictable when you think about when you if you hear like they foreshadowed this so much
Oh
more
yeah,
than they
it
needed
was
to.
so obvious. Minoru's like, "Oh, if you eat the secret stone, you'll turn into a dragon. Don't do it." Wink, 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 wink.
And then you see a blonde-haired dragon flying around, and like,
Yeah.
I wonder who that is.
Hmm.
The fact that the Master Sword was there too kind of gave it away for me.
Yeah. I wish there was more subtlety, but I'm not really sure how there would be.
Yeah, I don't know. Zelda becoming dragon is cool, but you know they could have probably done more with it, but also not foreshadow it like crazy. But what did you think of like the Master Sword scene though?
That's the final one where she transforms, or no?
Well, just getting the Master Sword and then getting the memory.
Oh, well, I got the Master Sword like very early, probably like 10 hours in.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I kind of put together, okay, so this is Zelda. This is how the Master Sword got back. I thought it was really cool, the idea that, oh, if you send it back, it has 10,000 odd years to charge. That's pretty cool. And it
Yeah.
could be, I guess it's technically more powerful. They didn't say that at all, but it doesn't break with Ganon, so I'm assuming it's more powerful.
Well, I mean, they did the exact same thing with Calamity Ganon, so it
I
still has
guess, but
30.
it only had
Still has,
100 years to charge. Or
yeah,
100
that's
years.
true.
So I guess
This
if
is
it had
like
10,000,
more
then it'd
more
be,
than 10,000.
yeah, it's something insane. I bet.
Something insane.
But it was all right. I had enough hearts, so it's not like anything suspenseful like in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it used stamina as well. I think to get
Oh
the
yeah,
it used stamina instead of hearts too. That was a bit of a surprise.
yeah, it was all right. If it was
Uh,
like maybe a little bit better, it could have given us some flashbacks or
yeah.
just something more.
Maybe if it was in the middle of a boss fight, I would have loved that.
Yeah, if it was like in a panic, maybe
Yeah.
if you jump
Well,
in
yeah.
and you get a boss down to half health, and then nothing does anything to them
Yeah.
after that. Then you have to go grab it, and you don't have enough hearts. Good luck. Now you're dead.
Oh, I wonder what game already did this type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have flashbacks from this very special theme. Yeah, that was kind of the thing I was disappointed about. Like, they didn't really have anything high stakes during the Master Sword. It was just kind of more of a dramatic dramatic question mark. It was kind of there, you know. I didn't really have much of a connection to the Light Dragon. I was like, is this Zelda? Is this Zelda? Is this Zelda? And then, you know, they just kind of reveal it. Like, oh, okay. That's her.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people got to the point where they defeated Phantom Ganon in the castle, and then they're like, "Oh, go find the Master Sword." And then the quest animation showed up, find the Master Sword. And then it shows up again, completed.
That's what
earlier.
Yeah. I actually got the Master Sword quest from Minoru. Because she talked about the Master Sword. She's like, "Where the heck is it? You should have it." Like, she scolded me for that. But you know, that was when I got the Master Sword. Also, pretty early game, and at that point, I was like, oh, "Okay, maybe I should just push through all the memories and just get it over with because I already know what the ending's gonna be like." And you know, funny enough, one of the cutscenes that were spoiled to me was the funny Ganondorf laugh gif that everyone knows about now.
Yeah, that went on Twitter day one.
Yeah, that was spoiled to me. I'm like, okay, sure. Ganondorf's laughing.
I'm sorry, but what? They couldn't have. It doesn't look bad. It's just weird. Right?
It doesn't look motion captured. I can say that for sure.
Yeah. His face shouldn't move like that. Although it feels like one emotion throughout the entire game, so.
Yeah, his resting face is kind of just the same all throughout.
Yeah.
The moment I saw it, I'm like, oh, there it is. There's a smile. But it's nothing too special, nothing too spoilery. It just happened.
And for the record, Matthew Mercer as Ganondorf. I know this is off topic, but solid. But I can't get Matthew Mercer out of my head.
You can't
I see him as Ganon. I don't see Ganon as Ganon.
You don't see Ganon as Ganon. You just see Matthew Mercer's Ganon.
He's just too iconic of a voice. Like,
Flashback.
He's in JoJo. He's in Attack on Titan.
Yep.
He's in Critical Role. Like, come on.
He's even in Fire Emblem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I know Nintendo has him on their payroll, but I'd like a more unique voice. Maybe somebody with a naturally deep voice, not just somebody.
Yeah. Not someone who fanboyed over Ganon previously.
Yeah.
Flashbacks to their Obi Brawl.
Unless we're getting like a little bit like deeper in depth into Ganon's like backstory, then
man, I kind of wish that would.
I think could have done more.
Yeah, they could have done more with his voice. Literally everything we heard in the trailers is pretty much everything we hear in the game.
Yeah. Other than, oh, what are you doing?
Or all the mummified, all the raspy mummified voices too.
Yeah. And they definitely edited his voice for the actual game. In the trailers, I'm pretty sure it's nearly raw.
Yeah, it's all raw. It's all raw voice clips. In the game, it's all like echoed and it's distorted, slightly distorted, to give off the powerful feeling.
Yeah, which is fine. That's what you have to do.
Yeah. Oh, I guess we should probably talk about the final segment of the game. So here's the problem. Here's my problem with this. Just approaching the final area is really tedious as heck. I absolutely hated going through those that underground segment just to get to the boss.
Oh yeah, we have to kind of like swerve between the caves when there's a different enemy at each corner. Yeah, that was weird.
That felt so unnecessary. Like, I can understand like something like Hyrule Castle because that had multiple paths. That was actually fun. But this, it's just so like repetitive and depressing and just.
It was like arbitrarily difficult because they put that silver Lionel right at the start, and I'm pretty sure that's just to deter new players so they don't go down there.
That was actually the first.
kind of nothing.
That was actually the first Lionel I ran into in the game.
I decided to later on.
Yeah, I got down there out of curiosity. I found this Lionel, like, nope, I'm leaving.
Well, it worked then.
It definitely worked, even though I tried fighting it like 3 times or something. I think I killed it. I was like, am I too close to the boss fight now? Yeah, so
it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool getting through the enemies and then getting to the point where you started at the very first second of the game, where you're going down that castle. I'm like, oh, this is the whole way. I was like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme.
And the music played too, the beginning music.
Yeah. And then you eventually get to like the writings on the walls and the drawings, and you finally have the ability to destroy the rocks, and it kind of tells you what happened already.
Oh, spoiler alert! Zelda's going to become a dragon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which in that case, it's not a prophecy. It's just drawing what happened.
Exactly.
Which is kind of interesting.
Oh, I wonder what would have happened if they had the Sheikah Slate down there with the bomb rune.
Yeah.
would have saved them like thousands
literally
of years.
10,000 years.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, Ganondorf's down there. Don't go down there. Zelda's become a dragon. No, that was kind of really weird. But
unfortunately, I had to go through that area, I think like 2 or 3 times, because there were so many corners and things blocked with rocks. So I needed to either go get rocks or bombs or something multiple times.
I was so thankful I stocked up on bombs, and it got really annoying when they took away the sages halfway through.
Oh yeah. You fall on down that pit and they're like, haha, no sages.
It's like, oh, you're getting nerfed again. After spending hundreds of hours in the game, you're going to nerf you again, because why not?
It's not really an explanation. It can't be. I guess it's like too deep for them to get to. What does
Yeah,
that
they
believe
they
then?
did kind of have an explanation. Like it says, like their spirits or their magic can't reach you from here. I guess that works. I mean, it
Yeah,
really wasn't that difficult. You still had overpowered weapons at that point.
apparently the physical versions of them could get there instantly, but yep.
Yep. From halfway across Hyrule.
Yeah, exactly. I guess
And then,
before the final battle, they had kind of the army
oh man.
area. I think that was a
Yep.
cool idea, and it kind of where the sages following you around and you
Yeah.
have to go push A on them kind of came together, and that's why they did it. But they only did it once, so it's not that. Come on.
Yeah, it's not really anything too special if you had the sages out already. Like, and you
Yeah.
fought those monster hordes, like those monster forces, with your teammates. It didn't feel like anything special. I mean, it was also something they did in Skyward Sword, except you didn't have teammates in that.
Yeah. It felt like Age of Calamity.
I wanted
Yeah,
it to be Age of Calamity at the point. I was like, why am I fighting all these with Breath of the Wild mechanics when I could just be playing a hack and slash with much better tuned controls for this?
It did feel more powerful when the more powerful enemies came around, and I
Yeah.
had to like kind of focus on one while taking care of another.
Yeah.
And that's something you can only get from this type of game and not
Yeah.
Age of Calamity. Age of
Yeah.
Calamity is just like, okay, one foul swoop, now you got 7 of them in the air, and
Yep.
now you're gonna just spam them for like 40 other moves.
Yeah. Here it's like, okay, maybe I should just fight one at a time and get my ass kicked. But
Yeah. Very rarely did I use the abilities in that battle as well.
I kind of forced myself to use them just for the sake of it.
Yeah. And I have to assume that if you made your way all the way down there alone and you didn't
Yeah.
do any of the challenges or any of the temples, you could do that battle. It's just a lot harder considering you don't have 4 other teammates, right?
I would
haven't seen
assume the
anywhere to
same.
confirm that.
I think I'll have to replay the game to do that, but I'll definitely think about it.
Because the speed runs for this game are like an hour long, so there's no way they've gone to each temple for an hour.
Yeah. There's no way because there's just too much to do to get to the dungeons. I think fighting them though without teammates would be a pretty interesting challenge.
Yeah, I think that honestly it would be a little bit like what are the Master Sword challenges? It'd be similar to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, also you can't save down. I don't think you could save too at that
You
point in the
cannot
game.
save.
You cannot
I got
save.
to the door right before Ganon and realized that I don't have any healing items, and my
Yeah.
gloom was all the way down to like 3 hearts. So then it said I couldn't save, and I also couldn't fast travel from there. So I had to go back on one save and do that whole thing again.
and not screw up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting part of the game. I'm actually thankful that they had it, just because there's no other situation that has that big of a battle in the
Yeah.
game.
It's meant to
Those
be
are-
epic.
Meant to be epic. Definitely a bit of hack and slash desired to be to be desired, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
But then you
Well,
walk up to
considering-
Ganondorf.
Considering the final fight.
Oh dear, the final fight has so many great moments. I think that's where my favorite part of the soundtrack is as well. It was probably one of the best themes in the game. So basically, you start off, you meet Ganon again. You're kind of tensed up because all your sages are preoccupied by the bosses from earlier, and you're like, is he gonna nerf me again, or are we gonna go into like 1v1 or something? And then sooner or later, you see Ganondorf, rehydrate himself, as per the memes. Rehydrates himself, and then boom, you get the long-awaited 1v1 sword battle. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. I think halfway through the battle, you get the sages coming in, and Ganondorf, on the other hand, decides to clone himself into 5. And it makes for a super duper difficult fight, especially because Ganondorf can permanently take away a heart.
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the big surprises there for me.
I think probably the coolest part was where they kind of break the fourth wall almost, and
Yeah.
you know, there's got to be multiple phases to a boss battle in Nintendo games.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the first one was like, okay, that was really easy. Then you get to the second one, and he goes into his Demon King form, and the health goes back, and it just keeps going.
It keeps going.
And that was super, super cool. I wish more games kind of did it like that. What kind of destroyed it was that the Master Sword does such a big chunk of damage.
Yeah.
So you're not really in that battle for long. But the fact that the health bar has been this large for 2 games now, and now it's pretty much doubling, and it went off the screen.
That was a really insane part.
The fact that it stays there to the battle too. It doesn't just consolidate into back to the normal one.
No, this is a real health bar. This is a real extended health bar.
As well as when you're fighting him, he can also flurry rush technically, or he can dodge.
Man. Yeah,
that was terrifying.
That scared me. That scared me. Even more so than the good old battle-tested Guardian from Age of Calamity.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I thought parrying a laser back and forth was scary, but this really got me. This really got me going.
I do wish he kind of used a little bit more magic abilities rather than just duplicating himself, and that one is obviously Ganon or Ganondorf, so you could just go and defeat him. It wasn't like that special at all. Yeah, and maybe they could have added some of the abilities into the battle. You could maybe use Ascend somewhere. You could probably use a reverse time somewhere.
Ganondorf sends a huge projectile, you reverse it, or maybe he sends everyone flying into the air, or he goes up into the air and there's floating platforms, or
yeah, exactly. So
he pulls stuff like that.
I also kind of wish he had his giant organ.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
What an amazing comeback that would be. It'd be like you go into the thing. He'd probably be regular Ganon at that point, or Ganondorf, not dehydrated Ganondorf, playing the organ. Probably some cool theme that we already recognize. Gerudo Valley theme. He's just practicing. Turns around, goes and fights you. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I really want a remake of Ocarina of Time in the same style.
Recomposed soundtrack with something so crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the final boss theme was really crazy. I'm not sure if you listened to it recently, but it basically it encompasses all of Ganondorf from the past games to Breath of the Wild. It was such a fun theme to listen to. I think the beginning kind of references back to Link to the Past or Ganon or Ocarina of Time, kind of that weird time signature type of thing. And then I think way later into the fight, in the final phase, it gives you the Calamity Ganon's theme actually in a much more dramatic and fast-paced version of it. It was such a nice homage to just the entire franchise as a whole. And plus, they're playing with different instruments too. It's not like you're playing with your traditional orchestral stuff. They added in the what's it called? I don't know what they're called, but they're Japanese instruments basically.
Is it the Japanese guitar with that giant fan thing?
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but I'm just listening to it now and I can find that.
Yeah.
And a lot of
really
drums.
Crazy. Yeah, lots of drums. Lots of drums. That's what made this really tense.
I'm re-listening to it now, and they have the Breath of the Wild theme right at the end.
Yeah!
Still peak Zelda theme for me, so each time they played it, even if it was just 2 notes, it was so hype.
Yep. Definitely one of my favorite boss fight themes ever.
And the boss doesn't end there.
Nope.
Eventually, you do somewhat defeat the Demon King, and he's just no.
Screw it. I give up.
Essentially, he pulls a Zelda.
Yeah, pulls Zelda, eats the tear or stone or whatever it's called, becomes a dragon, loses
That was
all
so
sanity.
cool. I was not spoiled by this at all. So
Me neither.
once he like, I think the tear started to like crumble on his forehead, I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. And
What's
then
he
he
gonna
takes
do?
it out of his head. I'm like, no way.
You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it. And he eats it. And then boom.
And of course, for some reason, we're 2 of 2 of games where the final boss is the giant thing in the overworld.
This time you are in the sky, which is a nice difference to have.
Mm-hmm. Well, is it a nice difference?
Well, it does contribute to the very, very ending of the game. The ending sequence.
I think it's an interesting difference. I don't think it's very nice. I feel like
was it tedious?
This might be a hot take. I think it was a little bit tedious, and the scale was a little bit hard to grasp. Mainly because when you're flying and you're kind of gliding towards Dragon Ganondorf, you're trying to get there to his weak points. Yeah. I feel like it took ages to get over there, and I felt like he was moving away from me the entire time.
Maybe you should have equipped the gliding gear.
I think I did have the gliding gear, but it doesn't have as much horizontal movement as a glider, right?
Well, not yet.
Move down a lot faster.
Well, no, you get to move a lot more horizontally than normally, but and you don't take fall damage if you upgrade it enough. But it still is pretty difficult to land on those spots too.
Yeah, I thought that final boss battle was gonna pull like a Star Fox. We're gonna ride on the back of Dragon Zelda, and she was gonna shoot laser beams or something.
Oh yeah, you know what? They're not gonna do a Splatoon 3 in this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness.
When Splatoon 3 has a better boss fight.
Yeah, wait a minute. That would be a Splatoon 3 if you like ride. You're kind of riding
the dragon
and then you get close. And you're defending yourself, and you hit the weak points. Oh my gosh,
when Splatoon gets it better, that's when you know it's disappointing.
Yeah, I will say the music made me more hype in Splatoon 3. That might be a hot take.
No, you know what? I gotta be honest with you. The music in that final boss didn't really get good until you beat the boss.
Yeah,
but Splatoon 3's music was peak. I think the only interesting part of that boss fight was literally just the very ending of the boss fight.
Yeah,
because it wasn't just like straight up defeating him. You still had gameplay left. You had to go on this dramatic skydiving scene to save Zelda, and it perfectly mirrors the very beginning of the game where you failed to save Zelda from diving after her. That was a pretty neat thing to do.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. And I believe they were playing the main theme. They were playing a theme, and I just don't remember which one it was.
They were playing a variation of the main theme. It was
and that was so
very
cool.
dramatic. It was so dramatic. It was so crazy.
I'm still not sure how they survived that fall, even though they landed in water. But
I mean, Link can survive any fall. So
yeah, at this point,
yeah. Oh, he was also shirtless too in this scene.
Oh yeah, his legs have built-in the boots from Portal. Final scenes, solid. It was kind of playing the same kind of emotional notes as Breath of the Wild, where they're just like in a field. Zelda's talking. You get a first-person view with Link, and she says something cool that may or may not allude to a next game. That's it.
And then you get the post-credits scene.
Yeah. Wait, there was a post... Oh, yes, there was a post-credits scene.
What'd you think of it?
I don't remember it. I know there was one, but I don't remember it.
Minoru passes away.
Oh, yeah. Because I don't care about Minoru, I didn't care. She was in one scene. How do I have any emotional attachment to this character?
Yeah. I mean, okay, Zelda does like do a standing ovation in that scene as well. So
it was kind of mimicking the one scene where all the champions are being Crowned? Is that what you call it? No.
Sure. At
Sure.
least.
You know what I mean.
Yeah. And then they do that final camera pan just like Breath of the Wild did, zoom out and see all the friends walking together, converging. And they play the epic Zelda theme, or Zelda's the main theme. And then the end. But, I mean, this time they didn't really allude to another game, though, did they?
I mean, they brought Zelda back, and now she's human. So now the story could go anywhere.
It could go anywhere.
It's okay, so technically, Calamity Ganon is dead, which they killed in Breath of the Wild, which was the embodiment of evil. And then, in Tears of the Kingdom,
they killed...
they killed a Ganon, who just seems to be just an evil dude with the powers of that. So, so I guess he would also be the male Gerudo that every 100 years is born. Now, for some reason, the last 10,000 years, there was not a male Gerudo that went evil, but we won't think about that. So, technically, there should be a male Gerudo showing up soon, but he would take a few years to grow up. So, I don't think Ganon would be the next villain if they were trying to set something up.
Who do you think would be the next villain? You don't know.
I thought they were going to bring back the sorcerer from Age of Calamity somewhere.
Aster?
But then when you saw... Yeah. But then I'm like, maybe not.
He's too disposable for one, let's be honest.
Yeah, I thought he was just another Vati.
Clearly he was just a puppet at this point.
Yeah. I think they left themselves open to another game in the same world, but I don't think it'll happen very soon. If anything, they're just setting up to have an extra portion of information for DLC.
There's nothing beyond this point right now, and nothing to expect anytime soon.
You've made it to the end of the episode. If you'd like to listen to more discussion about Tears of the Kingdom, again, you can check out us discussing Tears of the Kingdom with the Zelda Creators Modcast. That is in the link in the description. Thank you for joining us in discussing Tears of the Kingdom. We'd love it if you could follow us on Twitter, X, and Threads. Listen to future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Join our community Discord server to continue today's discussion. And we'll see you next time on the Switch Clicks Podcast.